Ah, the sun is shining and the tea leaves are ready for production. We better get moving, it's not gonna ship itself. Hey there, it's Theo from Geeky Gamer Guy. This video I'll be previewing Chai Tea for 2 from Steep Games. Notes! Just like most of my previews, this video shows prototype components and is subject to change. Let's get packing! Chai Tea for 2 is a dice placement pick up and deliver game for 2 players. Players will be merchants harvesting different varieties of tea leaves to ship to tea houses in distant lands. Aww. Before setup, agree over a cup of tea what ship goal both players want to play with. Alright, I guess. A ship goal triggers the end of the game. Give each player a tea plantation board and 1 merchant, choosing side A for a standard game or B for advanced. Give each player a set of dice, further known as their tea workers. Place the building boards in a line in this order: Harvest, Market, Palace, Harbor, and Production. Shuffle the plantation cards and place 1 face up in each die area. Then place the remaining deck face up in the 6 die space. Shuffle the ship cards and place 3 face up in the harbor board slots. Place the remaining deck face up in the last slot. Sort the tea tokens: yellow, green, pu'er, white, oolong, and black, putting them within easy reach of both players. Shuffle and place the harvest markers by the harvest board. Then place the tea assistant below it. Both players roll a die to determine who goes first. Now we're ready to begin! A game of Chai Tea for 2 is played over several rounds until a player reaches the ship goal determined during setup. At the start of a round, the first player moves the tea assistant 1 to 3 harvest markers clockwise around the buildings. Both players receive the depicted tea tokens and place them at the bottom of their plantation boards. Then each player can choose to either move existing tea tokens or harvest an additional tea token up to the number shown on the harvest marker. Each tea token harvested this way must be unique. After each player is finished, the harvest marker is flipped and moved to the furthest clockwise spot opposite the tea assistant's current location. So for example, the first player decides to move the tea assistant clockwise 3 spaces to this harvest marker. Each player then takes the green and oolong tea tokens depicted, placing them on the bottom space of their plantation board. Each player then decides what they want to do with the 3 depicted on the harvest marker. In this case, the player decides to move both the green and oolong tea tokens 1 space up the paths that show that tea token, and take a white tea token from the supply to put at the bottom of their board. After each player is finished, they flip and place the used harvest marker to the opposite side of where the tea assistant is. After that, both players simultaneously roll their tea workers. Starting with the first player, players take turns placing their workers onto the building boards to perform actions. When placing workers onto a space where the board depicts a lightning bolt symbol, the action is immediately carried out. If the board shows an hourglass symbol, it'll be resolved at the end of the round. Also know that a tea token can be discarded to raise or lower a die's value by 1, and 1s may become 6s and vice versa. When a worker of any value is placed onto the harvest board, collect a tea token of the player's choice to place at the bottom of their plantation board. This board can hold any number of workers. When placing workers on the market board, a worker can be placed on an available spot if it is equal to or greater than the die value depicted. Then immediately take the plantation card and place it in a slot around their plantation board. Tea plantation cards give things like crates that earn extra points at the end of the game if the boxes are fulfilled with the appropriate tea tokens, or ways to move the depicted tea tokens further up the production line. So going back to the previous example, if the player had a matcha tea plantation card slotted in their board when the green tea token is moved, it would be moved an additional space further up the line. This will take place as long as the card is face up in the next space. I say that because some plantation cards are more powerful and have this symbol forcing it to be flipped face down when used. You gotta get that back up and running. If a worker is placed on the 6 dice space, the player may look at the top 3 cards and choose 1, placing the remaining cards back on top of the deck. On the palace board, players can place a worker of any value onto 4 different immediate actions if available: moving or swapping plantation cards, flipping all face down cards face up, or taking the first player marker. The harbor board is where the player will place workers to get ships to fulfill their tea order at the end of the round. Place 2 to 4 workers in sequential order to reserve a ship. A player can displace tea workers from a ship card by creating a longer sequence chain or a sequence with a higher value. The other player may immediately respond by increasing the tea worker amounts or passing and placing the workers on another ship. A certain number of fulfilled ships triggers the end. When tea tokens reach the top of the plantation board, they are put onto a docked ship if they match any of them. Player's choice. The only choice that can't be made is if there's enough tea to fulfill a tea clipper or junk ship. It must be fulfilled first over waiting to fulfill a higher value ship. When a ship is fulfilled, it will immediately set sail. Goodbye. Lastly, on the production board, players can take a T token movement to be used at the end of the round. A player can place 2 to 4 workers of the same value onto the top line of the board. Any higher value of the same amount of workers or a higher number of workers wins the top slot. More on this in a sec. Once all players have placed their workers, the round ends. One player may run out of workers before the other, allowing their opponent to get multiple turns placing theirs. After that, resolve the harbor board. Players take all the ships they reserved and place them in one of the 3 slots at the top of their plantation board. If a player reserved the 4th slot, they may look at the top 3 cards and choose one to place, returning the other cards to the top of the deck. Any tea that was sitting at the top of the plantation board is immediately loaded. Remember, any ships that are fulfilled immediately set sail, placing it to the side of the plantation board. Then resolve the production board. Players receive 5, 3, or 2 tea movements based on their position there. After that, check to see if anyone completed this game's ship goal. If not, restock the harbor and production boards and go another round. If a player has reached the ship goal for the game, move on to endgame scoring. Players total up points for their tea plantation cards, face up and face down, fulfilled ships, and if playing with the side A merchants, receive the victory points for each plantation card and fulfilled ship with the same tea type shown. The player with the most points wins. In case of a tie, the player with the least plantation cards wins. If there's still a tie, the player with the least clipper ships wins. If that doesn't break it, they share in the victory. Some features here include a challenging head-to-head game that's set in the Chai universe that's supported by vibrant art dripping in its colorful theme. I mentioned it a bit before, but both the merchant cards and plantation boards have an alternate advanced B-side that can be used after you understand the game and want an even tougher challenge. The merchant cards B-side gives the player a unique ability that can be used once per round. Things like placing a new T token on the bottom space of their plantation board, or 2 T movements to move T tokens up the board. Now on the plantation board side B, movement lines are more specialized, and features white lines that cause any T tokens to be oxidized into the depicted type when crossed. Also, even though it says Chai on the cover, it is a completely different game with its own set of distinct clever mechanics. Lastly, while the box says T for 2, this game comes with a solo mode to put your production engine to the test with no player T required. This game is definitely for players that want a fun, challenging dice placement game that can be enjoyed to its fullest at low player counts. While tea drinking isn't necessarily a requirement, it certainly helps to immerse you in the theme. Yep. If that's you, you should check this one out. I put a link to the Kickstarter in the comments below for you to check out further. That's it! Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to help out the channel, tapping the like button really helps. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to not miss out on future videos. Until next time, stay geeky. Keep gaming. Hooer, poor, hooer. Hooer, poor. Poor. Hooer, hooer. Hooer, poor. Poor? Poor?